Hey, Koppel. I was wondering what your thoughts were on the way that language may influence our thinking patterns. And I guess my main question is, do you think that we are capable of deprogramming our brains from thinking in words and in language?
Yes, but you sound like an intellectual, and um, if an intellectual tries anything in this domain, he fails.
Thank you.
Hello, couple. If books are a waste of time, how do we acquire knowledge?
Well, you're taking my word for it that books are a waste of time. So if you say that if books are a waste of time, means that you're basically just believing me. So if you believe me there, then you have to believe me all along the way because none of it was your own experience. So I'm not going to enforce upon you that books are a waste of time. That's something that you have to recognize for yourself, and you may never recognize it, and you may find that books are helpful for you. So I'm not going to pigeonhole you into anything, but your very phrasing of the question means that it wasn't a real question because you're basically just taking my word for it and asking me something to replace it with.
Hi, couple. So, how do you bridge the gap between your plans and your actions?
Hello, I'm just wondering if is understanding done personally or is it done through acquiring information on whether it be online or with an individual. I'm just trying to learn more about how do you arrive at understanding.
And that's a very vague question. What is it? What is it that you're not getting about understanding?
Do I have to sit and think about an issue that I'm having personally and sort of look deep into it and I myself understand it, or is it is it from listening to a conversation like that you're having here or your videos on YouTube or whether it be your discourses? Do you know what I'm trying to say? I just want to. Can I? Do you know?
Well, maybe it would be easier for you to look at the opposite. So, learning what learning is not. Learning is not following prescriptions or listening to prescriptions and methods, how to's, hacks, techniques, all these things. So it's not that. So if it's not that, and it isn't following instructions, then that leaves understanding. So whatever that means to you, because if you then try to pigeonhole understanding, you try to everyone likes to make definitions out of things when they already know the meaning. I mean, because everyone is so conditioned into scientific and academic ways of thinking, you can tell them a tree and they'll begin to define what a tree is. I mean, you almost have to shake them out of their confusion to say, you see that big thing right there? What's that? It's a tree. Okay, well, there's nothing more beyond that. Stop trying to make it into an academic, nonsensical thing, which it's not.
Hi, Capel. I was wondering if you could speak to, kind of the experience you have in training some of your, higher end clients. I guess my question is, do they offer you questions that satisfy you or find that, do they bring you intellectual stimulation, quote unquote? I mean, obviously you're not looking for intellectual stimulation. I know that. I'm stuck in that, right? But I think you get the question.
Why does it matter?
Well, I mean, I imagine you do these things, right? Like I can, I've been in a lot of these at this point, and I've gotten to ask you a few questions. And so obviously, I think that there's some, enjoyment. I don't know what type of language you would use to describe something satisfying or, resonant with you. But I don't know. I know, and I definitely am not suggesting that it does matter. And I guess why does my asking the question
Well,
suggest it matters?
I don't see the relevance. I don't see the relevance of the question.
Well, I guess if these performers who are performing at a high level, I'm curious if these people who you coach, if they are really all that, right? I'm sure obviously some of them are and some of them aren't. Like, I don't know, some of these high performers, do they bridge and are they more easily relatable to you. And but I guess is relatability. I guess, but if relatability is so fundamentally not interesting to you, then I guess the question's irrelevant. So
I don't know where to go with this because it has no meaning. This is almost like a trivial pursuit, curiosity thing. So it's just the question doesn't interest me.
Hello, Mr. Kabul. Do you hear me? Hello.
Hello, Kapil. So, when I read your work, I understand that pleasure is not something that's going to bring me lasting satisfaction. At least I think I understand this. But some part of me still wants to chase that pleasure. I don't know if I've seen completely that pleasure cannot bring something permanent. I don't have a specific question, but I'm not sure if you can.
Well, no, I mean that you've expressed where you are with it, and that's fine. That's what you said is a very reasonable thing. There's nowhere to go from that, but what you said is very reasonable.
Hello. Why do you open these spaces?
Hello, Kapil. What truth or secret leads toward this passion?
Hello, Mr. Kabul. Just want to ask, why? I wonder why humans lose this battle with the mind. Like you talk a lot about conquering the mind. I see, like through years, enlightenment has been a scarcity. Only few individuals has been able to acquire it. It's not something for everyday people. And I sometimes...
Well, it can't really be any other way, because if you think about it very reasonably and very logically, I'm just going to use you, but it's not just you, it's every human being. Where do you live? You live in a society. What is society? Composed of common human beings. What do common human beings know? Nothing. What do they seek? Garbage. So if you live in a society of garbage and nothing, how can you possibly become enlightened? Now, that does not mean that you can't, because you may have the rarest form of DNA which goes against everything that surrounds you and walk away from everything that you hear. That's possible, but that's extraordinarily rare. So it isn't the rarity in the potential of a human being to become enlightened. The rarity lies in the fact that if one lives in a place of lies, and society and its experts and its minions and its gurus and its books and its media and every single thing which enters your ear is a lie, then those are the paths that you will necessarily or not automatically go down, the path of lies. That's why.
Hello, Kapil. We've talked about overcoming the mind and not prescriptionizing things. My question is, for me, raising a 5-year-old, you once had to raise a 5-year-old. How is it that you go about raising a 5-year-old without first teaching prescriptions?
Well, I think the truth lies in the fact that the idea of raising someone is a farce. It's a myth. You're not wise enough to raise anyone. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try, and doesn't mean that you shouldn't do your best, and it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do every single thing in your power and your ability to sincerely do what in your power and in your belief system is right and good for the individual. Of course, you should. It's all you have. But the inner understanding that you're going to do something that's so wise, and you're going to say things in the proper way, and you're going to parent correctly. I think it sounds nice, but it's a bumper sticker. It doesn't exist.
So did your son have a natural inclination to golf, or did you help him?
You're just switching topics here. I mean, I just laid something on you and you sort of just blew it off and you went to another question. And that's what everybody does. They ask a question, and then when they get an answer, they go on a tangent and come back with a boomerang question. Either you weren't interested in the question or you were just curious. There's no reason to respond with another question.
Hi, Kapil. Thank you for doing this. I don't know if this matters or if it's from the mind, but ever since I've been an adult, whatever I'm doing, I say like, if I'm not going to be great at this, I won't do it. This was the reason I changed fields before, and this was before I found your work. But the new field has also been the same, so I've given up on that too. The thing was also not suitable for really being great, but I don't know how much of it is a factor. Anyway, I have this objection coming from me that the idea of working for 1 month so that just I can continue working for another, like that doesn't, I resist it. So I resist working, and I'm almost 25, but I still rely on my parents. So I say, for example, I want something scalable, and now I want to start a business. But on the other hand, I have been wasting time and continuing to making zero money, right? So
what's your question?
Yeah, I'm coming to it. So there's this narrative that I sabotage myself and I don't feel good enough. I'm not saying those are meaningful things, but everybody says that. I guess my question is, can something great be born out of like detachment to the societal way of doing things, or is it just a reaction, or how can I know if it's genuine?
Well, don't worry about it. I mean, if it's something that's visceral, and if it doesn't matter where it comes from. If it's something that's very visceral inside of you, and it speaks to you and it moves you, then I think that means more than trying to intellectualize it and make sense of it. There's so many things. In fact, the vast majority of things in this world you're not going to understand. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about just any human being. So go by the feeling.
Thank you.
Hi, Capel. On a podcast, you once stated that nature has ingeniously planted the solution to the problem within the problem itself. And as an example, you gave anxiety. Could you provide another example where nature has implanted the solution within the problem?
Every problem.
What makes Tiger Woods so great?
Hello, I had a question. Where does envy rise from?
How do we define the purpose of our life when it comes to someone?
I was wondering, how does one stimulate will?
Hello, Mr. Kapil. How does one prioritize relationships in life versus
Hi. I found that using certain drugs can increase my performance, and I found this by objectively keeping data on my performance when using them. On the one hand,
why is it that people speak when silence is the answer?
Hello, my question was, why does a thought even arise from, why does the thought even arise?
Hi, Kapil. Do you think that it's harder now than it was in the times of Musashi or in the Buddha to reach eternal bliss?
Well, I think it was always hard because people are always people. So from the standpoint of people being people, I don't think it's any different. But given what today's times provides in terms of distractions, from that sense, I would say yes, definitely.
Is there anything about a human being that is not conditioned if that human being was born in society?
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter that you're going to try to go on this fishing expedition to find out what wasn't conditioned, because the fact of the matter is, whether it's 98% or 100%, what's the difference? Really, the money lies in understanding the fact that one's conditioned, rather than looking for the needle in the haystack for where one is not, because he's probably not going to find it anyways.
So if I'm moving into a new kind of topic or area that I want to become an expert in or improve at, you've said in the past not to do it, but not following prescriptions.
Well, I
and
don't think I ever said not to do.
Sorry,
anything.
you didn't say that. I know it's more so around prescriptions will slow you down and stop you from becoming world class and become a crutch. And I'm just curious if there's a new topic, whether it's like YouTube ads, for example, that I want to get really, really good at. There's people who are way more experienced, way better than me, who've been doing it for a long time. Would kind of like following their advice and teaching them slow me down from becoming great, or should I just go out on my own straight away and try and figure it out?
The more mechanical something is, you can prescriptionize it. If it's just it's a filling in an application or a do this or a do that, but there's no art there. So you're just going to become yet, the 1,000,000,001 person who creates YouTube ads. There's no inspiration there. You can do it if you want. The more useless something is, the more prescriptions will work.
Hello. I have a quick question for you. Is it possible to be immune to something while also enjoying it?
Don't ask these like abstract. Ask what you want to ask. Don't dress it up in these abstract like riddle type things. Ask what you want to ask.
I fear that joy is a crutch for freedom. So I'm unsure if I enjoy something, if that's a pleasure, if it's just actual delight or inspiration.
I still don't understand the question. What do you really want to get at?
I'm trying to figure out a way to directly ask, is joy real? I guess that's the question that is most clear.
As opposed to what? What are you suspicious of?
Happiness. So I guess
You're saying happiness and joy are two different things? I'm still having a hard time. Talk in second grade.
Mm-hmm.
Just get down to second grade. Ask what you want to ask.
Are joy and happiness different experiences themselves?
And what if they were or weren't? So what? How would that?
I'm not interested in being in states that are false.
And you're interested in what then?
Actual bliss.
Okay. So basically everything that everybody knows and does and chases is pleasure. They chase pleasurable things and pleasurable experiences. But bliss is without turning the name into a god. These things are not something that you go out into the world and attain and then put it in your pocket or a feather in your cap and say, I got it. These things come through realizations. And so the more genuine and the closer to truth the realization is, the higher the chances that it's going to be something frivolous. Mm-hmm. And the more it's something that you try to practice and do or meditate or mindfulness or did something to try to get, the virtual guarantee it is that it's going to be frivolous and fleeting and the thing that you're not looking for. So everything is about understanding and realizing. And the realizing comes from, or at least it becomes possible, when the individual is more interested in realizing than he is in wanting a pick-me-up or a bumper sticker or a how-to or a latest guru phrase.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Hello, Kapil. A common sentiment that I hear is that people want to be free to do what they want. And as much as that makes sense, the way that I see it is that's the only thing that I do is what I want. And which seems to me just to be another form of slavery. If I'm incapable of doing the things that I don't want and only doing what I want, that doesn't seem like freedom. However, people act like they do things that they don't want, and it's just another way of doing what they want, right? Because they want this image of themselves that they can do hard things or whatever. Does that exist to be able to function from a place that is not based on only doing what is within the realm of your wants, or am I misguided?
Yes,
No.
That exists. That exists. But and it's correct to say that doing what you want is not really freedom. Now, it is freedom relative to someone completely and utterly telling you what to do. So yes, it's freedom in relation to that. But if one is looking for freedom with a capital F, then no, that has nothing to do with freedom. And is it possible to have that kind of freedom in one's life? Yes, it is.
Oh, hello. So I'm struggling with alone versus the human need for connection. A bit of context. I've been alone since a child. More or less like to isolate myself. It's also my way of seeing the world as more original. But at the same time, I see a much deeper pain of a desire for being connected. And I'm wondering, isn't that just a fundamental human need? And I know you talk a lot about this independence of thought of being alone in the world. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
When I talk about being alone in the world, and those are just the facts, but they are not recommendations. So I would never tell you that. I would never tell you that that you should overlook your need for human connection, because that's obviously very strong within you. And so if it's strong within you, this is where like the world falters, because it'll tell you to do something that's against your nature. So whatever you're feeling inside with regard to connection with other human beings and socialization and whatever it may be, then that's just what it is. Now, will that get you to truth? No. But so what? That's not what you really want. Nor should it be. There's no downside here. There's no thou shalt, right? So if that's what you feel, then that's how you feel about it. There's nothing really more to say. It's just the fact that truth is a solitary journey. Now that isn't relative and that isn't conditional. That just is that way. But that's irrelevant for you because you feel the need for, as you called it, connection with other people.
Yep, thank you.
Hey, Kapil. Here's my question. As a founder and builder, I have this intense drive or ambition or desire to build. This ambition or desire has proven to be intense enough over the years to keep me both focused and successful, but in times not quite enough to remain consistent. Is this lack of consistency a lack of seriousness, or I guess, how do I achieve that level of consistency that I desire? Because I do what I must and I'm successful, but not at the level of the greatness that I would, I guess, desire.
And your question is, how do you become great?
Yes.
Well, I baited you into that one because that's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
I can't give you a how to become great thing, mm-hmm. right? So what do you, consistency?
It's just that there have been moments, right? Because like I am what I am and there are these moments of greatness, but then there's just moments, and I know myself enough, and I have worked hard enough, and I've been focused enough to know that there is this deep-seated desire, for the lack of the word, that exists and that has made me achieve whatever I have. But then there's just this lack of consistency, and I can't quite put my finger on why is that. Is this lack of seriousness and this just comes when it comes, or is there not a way to cultivate, but is there anything that can be done?
Well, there's a truth to all of these things, but that truth comes from a systematic examination and an exposure to what those truths are for a given human being's situation. So that isn't, I don't know you, so there's no clean answer that I can give to you as to how to pursue that. But I can tell you cleanly that wherever someone is and whatever they're seeking, there is absolutely a truth to get exactly what they're seeking. That much I can tell you.
Hello, Kapil. Kapil, Kapo, I don't know how to say your name exactly. My question was kind of a two-part question. I've been seeing a couple of discourses on YouTube. I really don't know if that's you or not, because I don't think you have a YouTube account, but it was specific discourse talking about king and an ascetic, and you kind of laid the bomb at the end about how the king has everything, and the one thing that he doesn't have is desirelessness. And I was just thinking, like, wouldn't you need desire for desirelessness?
Yeah, it depends. You would need desire, but the desire wouldn't be for desirelessness. The desire would be for something much more fundamental, which would lead to desirelessness.
Yes, hello. How can I start? We all know that we can't change anybody else, right? We can only change ourselves, our perception, our thoughts, our way how we think about what happened already or what's gonna be happen. But because we are not an only living individual on this planet, and we are always in contact and in touch with other people, even if, or especially if there are people who damaged something in us, in our soul, or hurted us in whatever way ever. Yes, we can turn the back and we can change ourselves, but what about if this what happened is still with us in our head? How can we get rid of this?
So you seem to be new. You seem to be new here.
Yes.
So that's fine. There's whatever I'm about to say is not going to resonate with you, because anyone who comes here needs to have some sort of vetting and some sort of introduction and some sort of exposure to the things that I've written. Otherwise, they won't understand anything that I say.
Okay.
So it isn't about changing yourself or changing anybody else. It's about learning the truth. And there really is nothing about you trying to get rid of the bad memories of the bad things that have happened to you or to anybody else. It really has nothing to do with those things. Those are therapy-related questions, and they don't go anywhere. Nothing is solved through therapy. There's no cure there. There's just a swirling of muddy water. So everything really comes down to learning the truth about who a human being really is, what the memories really are, and where one's resentments come from and where they don't come from. It's about the root of things. It isn't about the doing of anything. And it isn't about the acceptance or the forgiveness or this or that. It's about basically all the things that you have heard are lies. Not because you want them to be, but just because they are. So the truth is something that is completely and utterly opposite and in completely the other side of the world from all the things that society has told you. So there's no change. There's no change. There's no changing yourself. There's no changing anybody else. All of these things are a road to nowhere. You will run down that road again and again in circles and circles and circles for the rest of your life. It is all about understanding the truth.
Hi. I actually haven't read any of your work either. I have a question. I don't know what you do either. I just was on the stage by someone else, but what do you do?
I can barely hear you.
Two extremely strong desires that are opposites of each other.
Namaste. What is the purpose of life? Everything.
Hi, Keppel. Thank you very much. My question relates to how truth is an entirely solitary pursuit, and how individuals like Jiddu Krishnamurti and yourself, you're obviously not giving prescriptions, but you're somehow guiding me, at least in the pursuit, and yet I feel that it's, in the end, it comes down to my own sincerity and to my own internal seeing. I'm just trying to understand the kind of the relationship. I mean, you probably didn't get to the state you're at by help. and yet I feel that I'm kind of lost when I don't listen to you or to Krishnamurti. Could you maybe clarify what the role of an individual is who has reached that, who has reached the truth and is guiding someone else there? Thank you.
I mean, if the words guide you, the words guide you. But the guiding is not my intention. I don't intentionally intend to guide anybody. It's very much a, if anything guides you, it's the truth that guides you. So that's where the credit goes, because you could give the same thing to 10 different people, and only one of them may be moved by it. So it really comes down to a relationship between you and the words, whether it's the spoken word or it's the written word. There's not really me. I mean, I've never even, I don't call you and guide you and tell you what to do and all of these things. So there's no such teaching relationship going on. So it's between you and the words. Only raise your hand if you have a question.
Even though I don't know much about truth, thanks to your work, I'm at least able to feel that all of my life is a lie, and in many ways it has unburdened me. But at the same time, I also have nothing to look forward to except for putting more fires off every day. And while I have a job for subsistence, I can see that I'm just an average person at my skill level, and I'm never going to get anywhere. And and thanks to your work, I don't feel happy or sad about it, at least. But still, there's an anxiety about I'm going to waste this life, and I cannot do anything about it. Is this the innermost anxiety that underlies all humans? Thank you.
No, I don't think so. I think, for somebody else, it's a detail. For somebody else, the anxiety could be that they are fearful that they may not arrive at the truth or get to their goal or whatever it is. You've already stated that you are not going to get there in whatever you're, and that's just a question of what one really wants. There's no negative or positive to that. So is that most people's anxiety? No, because the fact is, the overwhelming majority of human beings, virtually 100%, don't even realize that they're wasting their lives. They don't even realize that there's something else. All they know is whatever society and its experts and its media and propaganda has told them. That's their whole life. So they aren't even aware of the fact that life is being wasted and all of these things. And that's not a good thing or a bad thing. That's just is the way it is. So to answer your question, is the anxiety that you're feeling the nature of most people's anxiety? The answer would be no.
Hi, Kapil. I wanted to ask, how do you seek and find a mentor in your life? Is it even necessary?
Mentors, I don't think that you're going to be ready for this answer. But mentors have no place in anything.
Hi, Kapil.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sure.
Okay. I'm not sure if you heard what I just said.
No, I did hear that. So they're not necessary. That's what you. But why?
No, I'm not saying that. They're not even relevant. But like I said, because you asked that question, for me to make a statement which goes against the very premise of your entire foundation of your question is not going to sit well with you. You may chew it over, but it's not going to be something that is going to be at this time. You're not looking for the answer to is mentorship helpful or not. You're looking for the answer to how do you find one. So therefore, my question is not really going to do a lot for you. My response is not going to do a lot for you.
Okay. So is it even necessary to find one, or we can just tread through our own experiences and learn from it?
Well, I mean, you may want to read, I think I did a discourse on this. I think it's a public discourse. I think it's on the website. You may want to plug in mentors and my name in Google and see if you can pull it up, because I know I did a discourse exactly on this topic, and to see if that may or may not help you in any way.
Sure. Thank you. Definitely will read.
I have a quick question. Not sure if it was asked before, but what exactly is truth and how I can live every day and integrate it as part of my life?
Truth is the devotion to truth.
Hi. So I got divorced about 6 years ago, and I have 2 kids with this woman, and I find myself unable to let go of of her and of the situation. And I'm wondering, what's the truth behind? Like, I don't know what the deepest version. Like, I don't know how deep to go.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way that I can answer that without knowing the whole situation, and I mean, I can't just say you should think this or do that. I'm sorry about your troubled situation, but there's really nothing that I could give you that wouldn't be. It would be a shot in the dark, and it would be empty because there would be no context to it.
Okay.
Favorite football team.
Can you hear me? So my question is, are reading books necessary?
If you think they are.
How do you overcome this feeling of wanting to improve yourself and getting better and feeling not ready to do something, and like always like, I need to do this or learn this to be able to do something? How do you overcome that?
Why do you want to overcome it?
The feeling of not being enough or not good enough at something.
Yeah, why do you want to overcome that?
To actually do what I want to do.
But you asked, how do I overcome the feeling of wanting to improve?
Yeah, like every time I want to, like, let's say I want to start something, like, oh, I'm not good enough at this, and maybe I should, like, spend more time learning about this, and maybe then I can start.
Yeah, so what's wrong with that?
Well, that keeps me from doing the thing. It just always gets in the way. I always never feel I'm never like good enough for it.
Okay, so your question was kind of backwards. Okay. So you're saying that you want to actually improve, but you can't.
Yeah, sort of.
I mean, if you don't want to improve or whatever it is, or you don't want to learn what is necessary to learn, then you just don't. There's no overcoming anything.
Hi, is there a way to get rid of anxious attachment?
There is, but based upon the way you phrase the question and where it's coming from, the answer would be no.
How can we be in the world while still maintaining stillness?
Why do you want to maintain stillness?
That's when I feel.
Does getting rid of the self cause less problems?
Question. In one of your recent discourses entitled Life Inside the Truth, you mentioned a sphere that arrives via honoring certain requirements of purity and of intent. And I felt that I lived through that sphere, but I'm a little hesitant to claim it. And that I think by claiming it, it can taint it. Is that a possibility? And acknowledging having, I guess, been chosen for that ability or gift, it's possible to.
I mean, if it's there, it's there. If it's not there, it's not there. Mm-hmm. There's no requirement to claim or unclaim anything.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Kapil. I wanted to know why is there so much helplessness for humans, for humanity, for us? Like, there is so much attempt that I do to fix a lot of things, but then everything seems so programmed that it always restores defaults in a way. So it feels as if...
Because all of your defaults are things that you have imbibed from society, and they're all lies.
Hi, Kapil. My question is that necessary to have a formal education? This question comes as my son, who is studying in IIT in 4th year, wants to drop out to explore something different. So I'm not really understanding what decision I should make, whether he should drop out or I'm in a favor of completing education and then exploring.
So, number one, it's not your decision, it's his decision. Number two, education and schooling and degrees are nonsense. They're all just garbage. Number three, having said that, it really depends upon one's level of drive. If one is driven to do something that does not require schooling, he's actually very fortunate. However, if an individual is trying to get out of school just to get out of school and sit home and watch television, then that's not going to do anything for him either. So at the end of the day, it really depends upon what one's motivations truly are. And if the motivations are truly to go somewhere based upon some inner drive and inner deep level of interest, which does not require a degree or schooling. But if you ask me a question in a vacuum, if your first question was, is formal education necessary? Absolutely not. In fact, formal education is not education at all. It's indoctrination. It's conditioning. It has nothing to do with the real world. However, if someone doesn't have the drive for anything else, they might as well go to school, and they might as well get a job, and they might as well get a minimum paying job to allow them to eat and to be able to sustain themselves. So that makes sense for someone who doesn't have any other drive. So the more dull a person is, the more he should go to school. The smarter and more driven he is, the more he should leave school.
Got it. Thank you.
What is the difference between learning and understanding, if there is a difference?
Hi, Kapil. Much respect. My question is regarding anxiety. So the relentless anxiety we face every day is not something I asked for. It does come from somewhere. If I did want to get rid of it, and I should not be doing anything to get rid of it. And if I'm not doing anything, and if the answer is just observing or getting to the truth of it, is that also going to lead to a prescription?
If you turn it into one, yes. You can read my words and recategorize them and misinterpret them and turn them into any kind of prescription that you wish. Now, my words and my writings and my discourses and my books and my talks, there is nothing prescriptive at all about any of it. But if one is looking for something, they'll turn anything into whatever they want. That's up to you. That's a question for yourself.
I'm sorry, my microphone was off. My question was, why would someone be able to see the truth and devote themselves to the truth, but also not be desperate for it? What would that arrival look like, please?
I don't understand the question.
Is it possible to be devoted to the truth without feeling so desperate all the time?
Basically, you're just talking about degree of devotion.
I don't know. Maybe if you mean desperation is a more pure form of devotion.
I mean, words are words.
The panic, the fear that there's a truth out there that I need to know before I die.
Well, there are. There's many.
Are you still desperate for the truth? Is that something you feel, like a panic, a fear that there's something out there that you don't know?
If you feel panic and fear, then there must be a fair amount of desperation for it.
Does the pursuit of a serious life mean you have to be humorless?
So that's not a question. You're asking for permission to be humorful, or humorous, whatever the word is. That's why you asked that question.
Okay.
You don't have to say okay. That's why you asked it. You're asking for permission to have humor.
You're right.
And there's no rules.
Hi, Kapil. Thanks for having me. So in one of your interviews with somebody some time ago, you were saying how if one can see things the way they truly are, then life will generally be smooth sailing. So my question is, does seeing things the way they truly are, does that mean whatever life throws at you, you just know what to do about it?
Well, you quoted it better than I can, because I don't remember what I said, but it makes sense. I agree with myself. But nowhere in that quote was the word do.
So I'm just wondering, how is it that life would be smooth sailing then, if you just see things the way they truly are? But
what does seeing have to do with doing?
Because if stuff happens to you that you don't want to happen, right?
I don't know how you can conflate seeing things for how they are versus doing something about it now. Those are clear-cut lines. I don't know how you can confuse the two.
I guess it comes from you saying life will be smooth sailing. I'm just wondering how that's the case. If you see simply by seeing things the way they truly are, how will life be smooth sailing?
There's no way that you're ready for that answer, because you are under the spell of doing, which you have many brethren. You have the entire world as your companion in that fallacy. The doing of something in order to change something is an absolute conditioning that you're under, which you will probably never get past. Almost no one does.
Hello, Kapil. My question is, where the thoughts come from, and is there any role of human biology?
So the significance of devotion within truth makes space for action.
Well, first of all, I'm hearing a lot of background noise. Turn that off before you ask the question.
Sorry. So my question is about devotion and action and when to implement. And I recognize...
it's not about implementation. It's about realization.
I recognize when I make movements thinking that, this is what needs to get done, and I'm going to act in service and do it because I'm going to appreciate the results, that I'm happy. I'm in a blissful state. But then when I see I'm trying to do that act for somebody, I end up tripping, and it's like the road to hell.
It doesn't matter if it's for somebody or not. That's irrelevant. I said earlier, which you didn't seem to register, that it isn't about action or implementation. It's about realization.
Thank you.
Hi, Kapil. I've noticed that probably one of the worst ways to get anywhere is to try to get there directly. Like most of the time when I get somewhere, I go on the back road, or I go everywhere until I'm there. The direct path is a pretty bad way to get there. And I was raised in a way where I was taught to
So what's your question?
It's really hard for me to live in that uncertainty and still want to get there without that direct path.
Okay.
Hi, Dr. Gupta. Does one's childhood have any clues or truths as to what one really wants?
I don't know. It can. Sure, it can.
Good afternoon. I know that you say that understanding and really examining truth can solve your problems, right? And I've already experienced it firsthand, and I believe that it does work. But I don't know if you ever experienced this. Does that truth open up doors to more problems? And if so, is it just a nonstop seeking?
No, there are many problems, but there are also many understandings.
Find what truth that